Well, hello again, everybody. We are back. The Inside Blitz NFL week number 7. I think it's supposed to be a lucky 7, isn't it, Ron? Welcome back, sir.
Good to be back. Sure, why not? Let's call it lucky number 7. Things have been going great in the NFL, but not for the NFL teams necessarily. Injuries galore, some surprises, a lot of flipped conference races. Always interesting in the middle part of the season.
Yeah, I'm off my bye week, and that only means there were no local games here in LA. So it's back to work, excuse me, on Sunday with the Chargers and the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts, looking like the champion Baltimore Colts of the old days, the way they're going these days. Baltimore and Buffalo, the current Baltimore team, needed a bye week. They need a bye month, so they're off this week. Quick thoughts on Tennessee. It's the only time we're probably going to mention them the rest of the year. They got rid of Brian Callahan, their head coach, and I don't know what the fit they have if they brought Vince Lombardi back, if it would have mattered.
Well, Las Vegas was in a sweet spot against Tennessee because, as we discussed last week, they were about 1/2 a yard away from going down 28-6 to Arizona in the fourth quarter of that game. And in a sense, they had another easy double-digit loss. Things were piling up. Very false hope that they could turn it around just because they got that one extremely lucky win. And they've lost the locker room. They haven't drafted well. There's so many things that they've done wrong that I don't think it get fixed, even though that, to be honest, Cam Ward's doing the best he can with a depleted offensive line, some average wide receivers. They didn't really pay that much attention to tight end, all the stuff that goes on there. So without a good roster and without the same camaraderie that the Saints have trying every week, and Tennessee with locker room problems, I don't think this gets better the rest of the year.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who the coach is. Who knows what's going on in the locker room. But what are your thoughts on Cam Ward so far?
I think he's making the best of a situation.
Okay.
I rated their draft an F+, not counting Cam. No, not counting Cam Ward. So it wasn't bottom 4. But if Cam Ward didn't make it or whatever, it would be bottom of the barrel draft. It would have been last or next to last in terms of the draft. And you just can't keep doing that with an organization that's drafted a lot of spotty players. I'm fine with Cam Ward. Just get him the weapons around him. Get the GM and the new head coach in sync, and you can make progress. Look at Indianapolis and Jacksonville in that same division. Mm-hmm. Those teams were kind of treading water at best. Tennessee has a pathway to get back in, but they have to make all the right off-field decisions.
Yeah, we were hoping to get Las Vegas Cris back this week, but he is swamped with all kinds of good stuff. So maybe next week. There is a quick look at Cris and what Ron used to look like when he wears his hat. But Ron is now hiding behind that. By the way, you can change that picture every week if you want,
I'm hopeful that you'll see my face in the next week or two.
Okay. Is that good or bad? I'm not sure, right?
I think you'd prefer this face.
That's too great. Anyway, we got week 7 here. We'll talk about the games, of course. Let's go over a few topics before we become the reason why we are the preferred Thursday night football pregame show. I'm calling it the Geezer Teaser tonight. Mm-hmm. It's a couple of 40-year-old quarterbacks going at it. But how about week number 7 here? And just the thought of Indianapolis and what they are doing, Ron. I mean, it's just spectacular. Is it Danny Dimes becoming, like I said last week, Danny hundreds of dollars? Jonathan Taylor's having an incredible year, like I sort of expect. I mean, he's a great running back, of course, but, they're leading the league in some really good categories.
Yeah, the Colts are a surprise story to me because I didn't think Daniel Jones had the internal clock awareness to get out of trouble. And Indianapolis came into the 2025 season, in my opinion, and a lot of others, as a not a good offensive line. They lost 2 starters that were gone through free agency. They didn't really do a lot in that area, but everything's picked up. Their play calling, it may be more of an indictment of what happened with the New York Giants and that organization. But I give Daniel Jones a ton of credit, and I give the organization a ton of credit in a non-divisional game against Arizona to be able to come back and win in a semi-flat spot in that particular game. There are some, I'm not as high in terms on the whole team picture, but there's no question they deserve favoritism right now in that division.
Yeah. They're favorites to win it all in the AFC as of this second, at least, in back of people's minds. What about Baker Mayfield and what he's doing thus far? You talk about MVP candidates. He's doing it without some of his best receivers at Tampa Bay, where they just keep finding ways to win. I believe they are the first team to win 3 games down to the wire down to with a winning field goal. It's incredible what they've done.
Yeah, Baker is right now sitting atop a lot of MVP races, and he just gets it done.
Yep.
There are some chatter that he's had some turnover-worthy throws, but the bottom line is he's only had 1 interception, and if he keeps that up, that's amazing. The offensive line's been banged up. One of the promising, surprising rookies last year at running back, Irving, has missed the last game or 2, might miss another game. And like you mentioned, Evans, who's a future Hall of Famer, and now missing perhaps another wide receiver. You're talking about smoke and mirrors with a team that's averaged, 27.5 points per game. So all the credit to Tampa. They are in a race because Atlanta has a chance to be there because they've improved their pass rush, making their secondary, which has a lot of talent, but never had the luxury of being able to cover a short period of time because Atlanta never had that pass rush to make their job easier. Yep. So Tampa, they got to get some of these guys back to maintain consistency and vie for a number 1, 2, or 3 seed. I don't think they want to be sitting at a number 4 seed when all is said and done, but hats off to everything that they've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's discuss Philadelphia. They've lost 2 straight. I'm wondering if there's a little bit of friction in the room, considering they're still kissing the Vince Lombardi trophy from last year. But with Jalen Hurts, he's not the most well-liked guy in the room, I think, and not for necessarily bad reasons. I think he's an excellent leader. He's a really good guy. He's extremely smart. And I think his demeanor is a little weird for some people to deal with as far as the head coach is concerned. Your thoughts on that, and also maybe the new offensive coordinator has not done enough?
Yeah, it's hard for me to comment on Jalen Hurts and his demeanor and stuff like that. I think it would be speculation on my part. I mean, he's borderline probably top 10 quarterback. He doesn't have all the athletic quarterback's traits as some of the others. What he does do is keep his team out of harm's way, and he wins games.
Exactly.
College and NFL. And you get a bump for that. And so he's deservedly in the top 10 because of that situation. But we all know, based on Philly's stat sheet and the way they've won games this year, they're playing like a 2-4 team. Their stats are 2-4. I mean, they have 9 defensive stats. So I think some of the issues are defensive related because they have some guys stepping up for some veterans that they lost in free agency. But those guys need a little bit of time to gel together, and it's showing in some of their defensive performances. 9 defensive sacks is not something we all thought that they would have after 5 games played. And offensively, I thought they would get Dotson, and then they got Mechie through trade. Yeah. I mean, those guys are legit low-level number 2 receivers, and all they have to do is be wide receiver 3 and 4 on this team, and they're just not being incorporated into the game plan. So I think for your offensive coordinator standpoint, I'm vastly disappointed that Dotson and Mechie are not more a part of the system, because they came into the league with the talent to be an easy wide receiver 3 talent.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes up almost every week on this show that how the importance of the OC, the continuity, and how important it is. I talked a couple weeks back with Marcus Mariota about that. Just the fact that you got this new guy, he's unproven and he's got a lot to prove. Now, there's always a period where it takes time to adjust to the new guy, but we're at week 7 now. So how much time do you need, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to make knee-jerk reactions to what's going on here, there, and everywhere. I mean, there's probably a little bit of Super Bowl hangover. It all came together last year. They did a lot of great things. Every year is different. The good news for them is that I do think Washington is going to be nip and tuck to even make the playoffs because their unbalanced schedule, completely different schedule compared to last year, is starting now with the short week. And they're sitting, as I see on the screen, at 3-3. And I don't think they're a threat to Philly, even though Philly hasn't played winning ball either, for that matter.
Right.
And Dallas, we know about their defense. And the Giants, they're doing it on emotion and a jump start with Jackson Dart. We'll see how much of that is repeatable week after week after week. So unless Philly, they control their own destiny, unless they completely implode, and this will be a tough game against Minnesota, but beyond that, unless they completely implode within the division, I still see them as probably a 2-game lead by season's end.
And you know what Eagles fans are saying? Hey, we're a second half of the season team. Mm-hmm. That's what happened last year. We'll see if that happens again. There's some growth to be done for sure. How about the Jets? Quick thought on a team that just absolutely can't get it done on and off the field, in the front office. It starts with the owner. It's just a bad situation over there.
Well, Aaron Glenn is overmatched right now. He's making decisions that you wouldn't make in high school. I'm sorry to say that. Yep. And basically what he has to do, what my fix would be, is pay all the money you need to pay to get a top-tier offensive coordinator and tell that offensive coordinator you have complete autonomy and let Aaron Glenn do what he knows best, defense, and let him become a leader of the whole team. Until they get that offense and the play calling and all this continuity straightened out, and maybe a couple of extra draft choices to get some better wide receivers, etc., it's not going to work. I wouldn't give up on Aaron Glenn, but I would definitely lessen his workload. It's imperative that they get an offensive coordinator that gets autonomy.
And are my eyes going on me, or do I actually see New England atop the AFC East? Drake May and that group. I mean, look, we talked about Vrabel going there first year. The expectations were not this at all yet.
No, but if hindsight is 2020, but the writing was on the wall for them to be really, really good. I mean, they had the top free agency haul, and every team in the last 4 or 5 years that is rated number 1 in free agency has had a 1-year bump. Most of those teams do it because they sacrifice the draft. But New England had a top 3 draft in my ratings, and in a lot of people's ratings, a top 5 draft. So you combine free agency and the draft, you combine a 4th place schedule, which is pretty easy and getting easier by the minute based on who they're playing.
Of course, that's a big part of this.
And a coaching upgrade, because we know what they dealt with last year. You've got 4 pieces in place, and they're firmly in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But certainly, again, for the most part, who have they beaten? And they're going to continue to get better and better. And how do we discuss this every year? The average to below average teams, if they get on a slight roll, the confidence is such a huge part of success for the long haul.
Yeah, well, winning breeds confidence, especially with new coaches and new staffs.
Yep.
And, you see it with Aaron Glenn on the reverse end, because they can't win the close games. So naturally, if it's a close game, and certainly Denver wasn't playing its best football in London, that was a New York Jet win if they completed a pass.
Yes.
But 9 sacks and minus 10 net yards will not get you a win. It gets you within 2 points, which shows, again, that decision making. So winning obviously breeds confidence. And there are no great teams this year.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's go to Thursday night football. And it's the old guys tonight with the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Flacco, just a kid tonight. He's only 40 compared to Aaron Rodgers at 41. We just hope that they'll have enough oxygen to finish the game.
Well, it's a weird one because Joe Flacco enters the building and plays about 3 days after entering the building because he has familiarity with Green Bay, so they want to do that. Then he gets only 3 days before his next game. So the time for him to learn the offense and everything else is really after this game, not during this game. The good news for Cincinnati, if there's good news, is that Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, obviously they play twice a year. They know each other. The rosters are pretty straightforward other than Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco.
Yep.
So you're not going to get any surprises other than that. But Joe Flacco is considered an upgrade. He's getting the ball out quicker, according to his 1 game sample size at Cincinnati. And he's less likely to be sacked than the other quarterbacks that are available at Cincinnati.
Yep. I wonder who heard the comment which Mike Tomlin made the other day about Flacco being traded in the division. I don't think he was joking. I think he was just being a little outspoken about it. It's not a big deal, but here's what Mike Tomlin had to say about that deal.
To be honest, it was shocking to me. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us, because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings.
Well, okay. Let's hear the Cincinnati response. First, Jamar Chase, and then Mr. Flacco, and then head coach Zach Taylor real quickly.
It's not negative or positive about me at the end of the day.
What did you think when you saw it?
I kept scrolling.
I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't get to see how upset he was. But I think he's probably just playing the game a little bit and doing whatever he has to do.
I was happy. That's my only comment.
There you go. So Zach Taylor could care less, but he was laughing when he said that. Any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, you couldn't see me nodding my head when they said was a Flacco saying he's playing games. He is playing games a little bit, but he also has tremendous respect for Joe Flacco.
Oh, yeah.
Because Pittsburgh, Baltimore was must-see TV every single year.
Yeah, he's lost a few to Joe Flacco, hasn't he?
Yeah, the defensive struggles, everything about that talks NFL history and what the NFL was about before all the rule changes and stuff. I love the rivalry between Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, which are probably all of you, I did a great show. Here it is with Joe Flacco just before training camp opened when he thought he was going to be playing in Cleveland this season. But anyway, you can check that out on my same Touching Greatness YouTube channel right here. That was, I guess it would have been the end of August is when we did that show. I met Joe right here at a golf tournament during the off season. Great guy, and you can only wish him well because you know what? He cares, and he loves playing the game. How much more can you ask of that? What are your thoughts on the spread tonight, Ron?
Well, I'm guessing Trey Hendrickson won't play because if he doesn't play, that gives him a lot of extra time before their next game. And so matchup-wise, this isn't great for Cincinnati, who's playing 4 games in a very short period of time.
Exactly.
Situational-wise, everything points to Cincinnati. There's some long-term NFL and Pittsburgh metrics that have, like Cincinnati, it's worth waiting because once Hendrickson is declared out, you're not going to be getting more, less than 5.5, and maybe the line gets up to 6. If you like Pittsburgh, or if you want to tease Pittsburgh or do money line with Pittsburgh, you probably need to act a little sooner. I think there's going to be a super close game.
Yeah. What about the Cincinnati D, though, in these circumstances against Rodgers?
Well, I can't vouch. I think Rodgers could have some open receivers and do some stuff. The problem is he only has one receiver that he really counts on. The rest of his throws, Rodgers is making an atypical number of throws to tight ends and to running backs. It's an exorbitant number of throws that do not go to wide receivers except for one. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't trust anybody to run a route if they're not a tight end. So that's kind of skewed. And so it depends on how Cincinnati covers the tight ends. I mean, they're going to give up some 50-50 balls to Metcalf because that's the way Metcalf works.
Right.
So, and Cincinnati's pass defense isn't great, but Pittsburgh's run game has been hit or miss. So it's yards per carry. It's not really good enough to sustain. So it makes things interesting from a Cincy standpoint. Short week game and everything else. You're not going to rely on much except for what past history has told you when you develop game plans for this.
Yeah, this is the most conservative I think we've ever seen Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. It's a lot of short stuff, and he's playing smart. The best thing about it is they're not turning the ball over, and if they keep doing that, they're going to keep a lot of wins in the big column.
Yeah. I'll respond to this. What does that say? REW Figs. Thanks for joining us. I'm not really a fantasy guy, but I can tell you Drake May against Tennessee is a good matchup. They'll get Rashee Rice touches, but you're going to have a lot of hands to feed in the Kansas City room now. So you're hoping for a touchdown. I think down the red zone, they may feed him. So that might be interesting. Josh Jacobs, probably decent. Rashad White, I'm not a big fan of personally. I think Detroit's gonna bottle him up. Jenkins, there's a path, especially with high winds and rain probability and stuff like that. And Miami's run D. Judkins looks to be really good. Broncos defense is always good. I can't tell you too much about San Francisco. Otherwise, I'm really worried about their entire team.
Oh yeah, well, every week we don't know. They have to go to the Sisters of the Mercy to bring on some healthy people. Any thoughts on these brief little props up there on the board for tonight?
The Aaron Rodgers 200+ yards, feasible. Metcalf, absolutely feasible to get 50+. I have Iskovus, the Princeton guy. At about
I think they call him Yosivash.
Yoshiva, you're right. Yeah, I don't know how you get that, but okay.
I don't either. I'm still looking for the Y in there, but go ahead.
Yeah, I have him priced at 15.5, so I have no opinion on that one. And Warren at 40+ against Cincinnati. Yeah, game script for Pittsburgh. You'd think that's the way they're going. Although they handed the ball off a lot more to their second and third string guys. So You have to be a little bit more careful about that. I would trust tight ends to get touchdowns with Aaron Rodgers a little bit more than DK Metcalf, but you never know with Cincinnati's pass defense. I guess the ones I'd be most comfortable with would be probably Aaron Rodgers and Metcalf, the top two.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. Are you looking forward to this game, or is this just happens to be a standalone one?
I like watching these divisional matchups. Since my hope based on my season win, my hope is Cincy's not going anywhere this year. So, I'm rooting for Pittsburgh to pull out a close win. But regardless, even if Cincy wins, it's going to be a tough season. I like these games that are more defensive minded. You know me, Ted. I've always been more involved in those kinds of games.
And of course, you're going to be watching on your black and white TV tonight because the white jerseys are coming out for the Bengals, and that's all that matters. That's the most important stat of the night.
Well, I heard the Chargers may be coming out with some really weird jerseys, and Chris and I talked about that yesterday. I think I have to dock them 3 points if it's the jerseys I'm thinking about.
Well, you want to know what the jersey looks like? I'm prepared for you.
Oh, God.
That's Justin Herbert trying to figure out what team he plays for right there.
I mean, you're right on it. To have that at a moment's notice, Ted, I'm very impressed.
I don't know. I can't stress enough. I'm not as dumb as I look. Anyway, so we'll talk about the Chargers in a little bit. In the meantime, I guess there's a little more than just Thursday night football this week. We're back in London one more time. It's the Los Angeles Rams against those Jacksonville Jags, and we never know what team's going to show up there. But just thoughts on what's going on with the Rams. You got Puka, who's probably not going to play. It looks like he's going to sit it out. They have a bye week next week, so give him the extra week for the foot and ankle issue.
Yeah, I would sit him because, to be honest, you don't know about foreign surfaces. I mean, you can say that the grounds are great or whatever, but they're not necessarily done by NFL groundskeepers. We know we've had problems in Mexico before and a couple of different London sites before. I would sit him. And so if I'm the Rams, that means a heavy dose of Kieran Williams and maybe more attention. We talked about this last week, maybe a little bit more attention to the tight ends than the Rams have been doing of late. Jacksonville has 8 defensive sacks on the year. So as good as Jacksonville has played this year, as well as they've looked, they're still not getting to the quarterback. And you got Matthew Stafford, a wily veteran back there. So I think it gives the Rams an advantage. And the other issue is you got Liam Cohen, who's been with the Rams 2 different stints, now going back up against the Rams. So it's personal between, not that they don't like each other. They probably like each other, but it's still personal. You want to beat the guy who left your organization.
Yeah, this is the true home game for Jacksonville because it's the 14th time they played in London. Yeah. So it's just old news for them. They know exactly where to go, where to eat, and everything. Anyway, and Rob Havenstein is not going to play again, and offensive lineman for the Rams. They've got a few issues as far as the offense is concerned. Maybe a little more conservative play this week.
Yeah. Based on that, I'm going to check what the over/under is right now. Has it moved? No, it hasn't moved. It's probably a little bit high according to what my numbers, because I understand that you want to be a little bit more conservative there. And we've talked about this. Trevor Lawrence is not the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, even though he's been in the league for 5 years.
Right.
He's acceptable, but he's not in the top probably 15 in percentage. It would be easier if Puka was there because it would be pitch and catch in a lot of different areas, although Jacksonville's pass defense has stepped up to the plate. But overall, if you ask for my lean in this particular game, I'd say Rams.
Okay. Let's go to the Patriots at the Titans. And I know Tennessee stinks, and we're obviously going through a transition with them right now with the coaching situation, but should New England be more than a touchdown favorite anywhere on this planet, including against a few college teams?
In this case, yes.
Okay.
In this case,
what do your numbers say?
My numbers would make this about 6. So
okay.
I'm a little low, but partly a lot of that is due to the fact that if we handicap this game at the beginning of the year, which I do, because Ted, I handicap every game twice before the season even kicks off, we would have seen New England going back to Tennessee wanting to prove a point with their second-year coach. You expected actually not regression, but you expected that they would be better in the second year with the staff, and New England would be in their 3rd straight road game. This would not be a good situation at all if you talk to me in August, or if you talk to anybody who handicapped the game in August. All of a sudden, you've got the Tennessee fan base and the Tennessee players and everybody else wishing Vrabel was there. And so it's a completely flipped situation. There's not a lot of pressure on New England. It's still their 3rd in a row road game, but I don't know what Tennessee brings to the table. New England's weakness and Vrabel's weakness has always been against the pass. He literally knows how to shut down opponents' run teams. So there's a path for Ward to have a good game here.
Yeah.
and basically that's the way they have to do it. They have to let Ward air it out with the interim coach and just say, let's go for it. You know, what do we have to lose? Everybody expects us to just sit down and die. Let's go for it. And I think that's the way they have to get out to a lead, start playing inspired ball. Maybe they get the win.
And my favorite stat of the game is Drake May is 3-0 on the road this year. And that is just impressive. I don't care who they're playing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got a new staff, new roster. You got Josh McDaniels there. I mean, they've upgraded the staff just, you know, an incredible amount. So a lot of what we talked about with New Orleans, with all the, New England with all the changes, it's all positive and it's showing. I don't know if they really, I know they beat Buffalo, but in general, you'd say Buffalo is going to get the number 1 seed or at least win the division. Right. But New England is squarely in the playoffs.
No doubt about it. The Saints at the Bears, the only reason I want to talk about this game, because I have a really hard time discussing anything with the Saints these days, besides the fact that they play really hard. It's not usually enough, but they play hard. But the Bears are evolving under their new coach, Ben Johnson, whether he's the reason or not. Just let's discuss Caleb Williams' growth as a player, as a person, as a leader on this team. He looks like he's starting to figure it out.
Maybe is my answer.
Yeah, maybe.
Because what we had is a strong situation last week where the Bears were off a new coach by 4 weeks, and they could tweak the roster, who starts. They could really assess their own team instead of preparing for an opponent, which is so important for a Ben Johnson type who's never been a head coach. So he put Caleb in incredible situations to succeed. And there were throws that Caleb made that were not good, even though the situation was favorable. And there were throws that he made that you'd say, yes, that's what I expect out of a number 1 pick. So that's why I say maybe with Caleb Williams' development. We saw the best of Ben Johnson when he has time to scheme offensively. And I think Caleb's in a good situation to keep evolving. But whether or not he evolves to the level that everybody hopes that he is still up for conjecture.
Yeah, my favorite quote ever out of Caleb Williams came this week. The second I heard it, I said, that's what I'm going to play on this show. Listen to this question and listen to how he has evolved as a person and a leader. In my mind, he said it beautifully.
You mentioned getting the ball back and saying, okay, let's go. Yep. You guys had the ball at the 9 coming out with 7 minutes when it didn't go well. Yep. How do you you've talked about your own, trying to keep a good head about yourself.
Yeah.
Come off to the sideline there, you're frustrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you not show it?
I think it's something that I've worked on. That's been something important for me because I know everybody's looking at me for my body language and you know how I'm moving on the sideline, my energy. Because in those moments we don't have time for that. Simple as that. It's time to go win. It's time to. It's 5 minutes on the clock, and they defense is out there. They're gonna make a great play for us like they did, and we have belief in that as a team, and we know that's gonna happen. And so I think being able to stay strong in those moments mentally is most important, and that's what I did. That's what we did. We stayed steady through all the ups and downs that we had in adversity throughout this game. We stayed steady as a team mentally. We didn't flinch, and we kept going.
Just the fact that he said, I'm working on my body language, how people perceive me. I mean, that is just so huge. I don't think we ever would have heard that from him out of the past.
Yeah, that's a strong, mature statement. I like it a lot too.
Yeah.
I think it leads me to something. I hate to be negative on the situation because I think this is all mostly positive, but I see him a little bit overthinking things, even when a play is evolving.
Absolutely.
And this is, he's thinking he's doing all the things you want to say, but it brings into my mind that overthinking possibility that might happen at a situation.
Yeah, and as far the Bears' defense is playing extremely well. They lead the league in takeaways, so that's keeping them in games. Whatever Caleb is doing.
And Caleb's a turnover averse, so we know that +8 turnover ratio may be sustainable here, where the +8 turnover ratio in Jacksonville may not be sustainable. And those are, key points that you want to keep in mind. I understand that, and Chicago's getting a little bit more healthy, but they still are vulnerable against the pass. They got the Saints this week. Okay, it's the Dennis Allen Bowl, by the way, because Dennis Allen was, and that, Ted, this is a helpful thing for Chicago, because coming off a Monday night growth win, like you were talking about, it's easy to have a letdown the next week with less preparation against the Saints. The fact that Dennis Allen is now the coordinator and he's going against his old team might mitigate some of that letdown factor.
Yeah, it's a great point. And the also, did you know, or fun fact in this game, Spencer Rattler, your quarterback for the Saints, was benched at Oklahoma because of who? Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and as he said, it was a good thing for him because he got to go to South Carolina and be the guy.
Exactly. Anyway, so it's a nice little just thing to look at here. What about the Eagles at the Vikings? How do you see this game? Are the Eagles on the road? In some ways, it's almost like, good, get out of town. We know what they're like at Philly anyway, and they could just go out and play hard against this Vikings team who would love to beat the hell out of them on their home field.
Fascinating game, because somebody's going to get a win and say, we're back in the race, we're doing this, we're back on, and somebody's going to get a loss. And it could be just that they lost to a better team, because these teams are relatively evenly matched. They both have expectations of making the playoffs. They both won a ton of games last year. It's interesting. When I was trying to handicap this game, I said, oh, good, I have 3 or 4 good Philly situations that I like for this game. Then I do mini. Oh, good, I have 3 or 4 mini situations that I like in this game. It's total conflict in this and a few different.
So you're
games.
Off of it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, my problem, I would be on it if I got a unbalanced odds, like +3 would be really nice, but it went the other way, 2.5 down to 1.5, pretty much. So I wouldn't be surprised if either team won. And I think it's an important game for both teams, but good matchup.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the stats for Philly earlier on. They've been outgained in every single game this year. That's incredible.
It really, if they hadn't learned how to win, some teams have to learn how to win.
Exactly.
The Eagles used to have that with Dick Vermeil, had to teach them how to win and stuff like that. There are teams around the league.
You're going to make me cry with Dick Vermeil. Don't say that.
Yeah, there are teams around the league, Atlanta, for instance, that is still learning how to win, and we don't know if they're going to come over the hump. Jacksonville, stuff like that. Philly is 4-2 only because they just believe they're going to win, even though they're being outplayed. Because if they hadn't had that kind of win history where they understand that they have confidence that they're going to find a way to win, this is, again, a 2-4 team.
Yeah, and just to watch, I think the matchup of the game is the Philly O-line against the Minnesota pass rush, which, they have multiple sacks in 9 straight games, and that's as good as anybody right now.
We have to see if Barkley gets unleashed, because his yards per carry just has not been there. And we talked about Jalen Hurts, but you want to ease the pressure off Jalen Hurts by having a run game. And obviously, there was no pressure on Hurts last year with Barkley's spectacular season.
Yeah, and how about those Raiders? What are your thoughts on what they're doing there? I told you last week I wanted to discuss today a little bit about the Chip Kelly factor and what he brought to the team, which so far is not a lot. Now, you could say your quarterback's turning the ball over, blah, 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 but they're not generating a lot. Do they have enough to generate?
Yeah, it's tough with Kelly. Kelly wanted this extra challenge. He left the college again because he had unfinished business in the NFL, and he wanted to work desperately with Pete Carroll. I don't know how much of friends there are, but he's fascinated by that combination. Right. But Kelly's, the things you could do in the college game with the athletes and put people in spaces and so on. It's still, even though the games are getting closer together, it's still different than what you can do with the grown men in the NFL and so on and so forth. And I just think Kelly's better at college than he is in the NFL. And even if he does improve in the NFL, we even saw the evolution where it took him over a year, 2 to 3 years to get it going in the NFL. So looking back, hindsight again, we would say, especially with the level of competition Vegas has to play, that this is an evolving process that we shouldn't have ever expected this to be fixed right away.
Yeah. But do you think Kelly is a good fit for that, or is it almost you know how his offense can be a little complicated at times? Is it maybe too much for them?
No, I just think that it's harder for him in the NFL. I think, is he a good fit? I think he's creative, and there are certain situations that they'll run something and they'll discover something that'll work, and then they'll keep doing it and stuff. But the NFL makes faster adjustments than college as far as coordinators and teams. They can only do so much. So I just think this is a tough gig for Kelly back in the NFL.
No, I totally get it. But going against the Chiefs here on the road, that's a lot of points to lay. Kansas City's looking good. They're the best 3-3 team in the world right now. And they get Rashee Rice back after a suspension. It just seems like a lot of points.
Well, in a divisional rivalry, you don't always, I mean, it's not really the best thing to do to lay double digits. And Kansas City has not been good laying double digits in this rivalry or almost any rivalry. So I mean, for me, it would be Vegas or nobody. But I will say that in this league where there are no spectacular teams, Kansas City has barely emerged now as my number one power rating team. It's pretty low for a number one power rating team, and they're only a half point ahead of 2 or 3 others. But Kansas City's upside right now is enormous because Mahomes is playing great ball. This is clearly the year that he's going to stretch the field. I said that right in August, that he'll be stretching the field this year. When they get Simmons back, they'll be back to normal on the offensive line. They got Kelsey, they got Gray. You know, they can do what New England used to do with Gronkowski in Tampa. Manage his workload so that he'll be ready to go in key moments because they have so many other stretch the field guys now. It's back to the days when they had Tyreek Hill. You have Worthy, you have Thornton, you have Rice, you have Hollywood Brown. It's back to where KC should be feared.
Yeah, let's face it. I mean, they look like they're back being the team that they want to be. Now it's just a matter of being consistent and staying healthy. Quick thought on the Giants at Denver. Let's face it, Bo Nix is not the same quarterback that he was last year, but there's still a lot of games left in this season, and they can pick it up. But that defense for Denver is for real.
Oh, it's an exceptional defense. We've said this a lot. After a full year or close to a full year of quarterbacking as a rookie, there's tape on you. Even Jalen Daniels has regressed just a little bit. Now, you can't say that Drake May has regressed, so he's been the outlier, but he didn't play as many games as Dart, and I believe he didn't play as many games as you can fact check me on that one. Yeah, the Giants are in good spirits, and they generally are competitive on the road. And for all that Denver's doing defensively, they certainly haven't looked good from start to finish in a couple of games this year, and they're in a dogfight in their division. So they won't be looking past this game, but the Giants have rest 10 days, and we know Denver's off the London game. So the great NFL equalizer has spoken again.
Yeah, and Jackson Dart going against the Denver pass rush, 30 sacks leading the league this year. I mean, they might be all over his ass this time.
Yeah, Dart has the ability, and the reason why he started so quickly over Russell Wilson, because Dart has the ability to operate with a very quick trigger where he'll get the ball out immediately. And the New York Giant pass defense is such that you're going to get some easy throws on them. So it's not going to be one of those unless there's a broken coverage play that Dart's going to, Dart's. Yeah, I think I got confused there, but I will say that Jackson Dart, I think he'll be able to make some of the short throws, but they're going to have to be really patient getting the ball downfield, and the Giants are probably going to have to take the ball away a little bit, from Denver's quarterback.
And I'm going to be at the Chargers-Colts game at SoFi Stadium on Sunday. I'm a bit concerned about the Chargers. I talked about this last week. Their injuries are not good. You got 2 key offensive linemen out, maybe 3. Your running back situation is not what you expected because of injuries. There's some real issues there. Derwin James has a wrist injury. We don't know how that's going to affect him this week on D. They're already shorthanded there. 1.5-point favorites at home against the hottest team in the planet right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. It's a chess match game because obviously Jim Harbaugh has been up against it. Cluster injuries to your 2 very best tackles, and the run game that really Jim Harbaugh would like to see really going with Najee Harris. The goal line situation is a little bit harder. I heard a couple of different shows mention the fact, hopefully not yours, I don't think it was yours, that how come the Chargers don't have a tight end? And I will beg to differ on that.
No, that wasn't my show.
Gadsden, the 5th-round rookie, was a steal, and anybody who's been averaging 5 catches a game or whatever in the last 2 or 3 games, he missed the first 2 games.
Right.
I have no problems with the LA Chargers tight ends, a blend of rookies and experience. And the tight ends have a shot against Indy. Indy is playing much better defense than we've seen because they got a new defensive coordinator. They scrapped the cover 0, as I called it. They're no longer allowing 70%.
Right.
And it'll be interesting. The Chargers have a pass rush. It's decent. It's above average. We'll see what happens with Daniel Jones. There's some, if I remember correctly, I could try to look it up. Indy hasn't faced all great defenses the last few games. So it's an interesting matchup. Indy has one negative indicator. You certainly wish that if you're rooting for the Chargers in this game, you wish that they had a little bit better health. But it's a pretty good spot for the Chargers, in my opinion. And I think metrics people will disagree with me, but I think situationally and coaching wise, I think I wouldn't ignore what the Chargers bring to the table in this game.
So if you're Shane Steichen, though, do you go more with the run game and let Taylor try to pick up 100 yards and work the clock on the road and all that kind of stuff? Or is it let your quarterback, who's incredibly confident, just keep doing what he's doing?
Well, I think there's the opportunity. I mean, and they've been, all cylinders go, for what's going on with Indy. So they have run pass balance. When you have run pass balance in this league, what have I always said and repeated? A running back, a really good running back without good quarterback play is worthless in this league.
Yes.
I mean, I hate to say it, but the O.J. Simpsons and the Barry Sanders didn't accomplish team goals because they didn't have other parts of their roster to be good enough. To put Daniel Jones in the good enough conversation is strange.
But, it feels funny.
But Jonathan Taylor is such an asset to Daniel Jones that, they should try to run on the Chargers. There's no question about it. They should try to outscore the Chargers. Indy can win this game. The situation, even though I mentioned the situation isn't perfect, there's no reason to believe that Indy won't be able to establish some run pass balance. I think Daniel Jones will have to have a clean game. I think they're going to try to disrupt him with the veteran secondary and somewhat of a pass rush. A great challenge, I think, for Daniel Jones.
Okay, so if I asked you before week 1, if the Colts had a chance to lead the league in point differential going into week 7, you would say what?
Yeah, I would say what?
Exactly.
Exactly.
You would have hung up on me.
Yeah.
Anyway, impressive stuff so far, no doubt about it. And if you're going to the game, please wear very, very, very dark sunglasses when you're watching this Chargers team on the field with these unis.
Yeah, if I play the Chargers, I may have to lower my play because of those unis.
It's unbelievable. John Hadel is turning over. What can I tell you? That's. I'm not going to tell you who he is if you're not old enough to know. Anyway, how about the Packers and Arizona? What are your thoughts on that game?
Well, my thoughts are Arizona doesn't know how to protect leads. And I'm not talking about the random crazy stuff. You can even point to last week in terms of not protecting a lead. Arizona, it's a coaching issue. What else can I say? This is a strange matchup. Arizona has played well at home in 2024. They're 0-3 against the spread, 1-2 at home this year.
Yep.
Green Bay has not performed perfectly at Arizona. So in a lot of ways, Chris disagrees with me. Maybe others do as well. Regardless of who the quarterback is, I'm going to say what I said last week. I couldn't get past 11 when Green Bay played Cincinnati, and I was forced, to play Cincinnati in the game. And there's just no way they should have been favored over 11. They were favored as anywhere from 14 to 15 points. Right. I can't get to 6.5 in this game either. Now, I can get close without Murray because I still think there's a 1-point difference between Murray and Brissett. But I can't get there. So I think we're giving even with what I said about Arizona, I think we're giving a little too much love for Green Bay right now.
That's interesting. They're a little inconsistent on both sides of the ball, yet they're scoring like more than 27 a game on a regular basis.
Yeah, and can they win by more than 7? I suppose they can win because they haven't exactly put it together yet. And we know the Green Bay team is talented.
Yeah,
I think they're still going to be a factor in the division. At least they hold one win over Detroit. And you got a tiebreak. You got weird tiebreaker situations now because they're going to essentially have one tie on their resumes. So
exactly.
That's going to be really fun to watch, by the way, week 15, 16, 17 with
no doubt
that tie.
Yep, absolutely. And by the way, I misspoke on the Tampa Bay situation. It's not that they won by three straight games by field goals at the end. It was Arizona that lost at the end 3 straight times on the field goals. And that hasn't happened since 1970 merger. So they're finding ways to lose, and that's not good.
This is a recipe for in-game betting.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
where,
and I wish I would think about that more, not now, but while the games are being played, because there's been strategic points when we could have done a lot of different things. The Arizona situation, I should have been fading them, much like we used to fade Baltimore in terms of when they got up by double digits. And we haven't got to it, or we may or may not get to it. But the Fred Warner situation, the unfortunate Fred Warner situation, immediately should trigger an in-game bet.
Yeah, we'll get to Fred Warner in just a minute. We only have a few minutes left. What about Washington and Dallas? Will the real Cowboys show up? Well, I think they are the real Cowboys. Offensively, they are just much better, I think, than most expected. I don't know if CeeDee Lamb is coming back or not this week. It looks very questionable. But their offense is great. Their defense absolutely stinks. They got no pass rush. What a shock after their trade. What about facing Washington at home?
It's really most Dallas games when you're not playing the very best or the very worst are toss-up games. The Dallas-Carolina was flip a coin, in my opinion, came out flip a coin. This divisional rival matchup would usually be flip a coin as well. Putting Dallas as the home dog generally would tilt people to Dallas. And I understand that because Washington is off Monday Night Football.
Exactly.
It's a new experience. This is a very young team because they've relied on good drafts, solid drafts in the last 2 to replenish the roster with great culture. I mean, obviously, we talked about change the culture, but it's still a new experience for them. I'm not a big Brian Schottenheimer fan, but the situation does favor Dallas. But I think it could be classified as a toss-up game.
And Dak with 10 touchdowns and no picks in the last 3 games. I mean, he's been impressive. As long as he stays healthy and plays smart and that O-line holds up to give him just enough time, he's fine.
Yeah. Dallas has had one game where they had a good pass rush.
Yeah.
The better situation is Daniels going against Dallas defense. We know that. So they're going to have to get some sort of pass rush here. Washington's defense is more than acceptable. Again, it's a short week, so you have to factor that in. And Dak's highly accurate.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up on the Sunday night game. The Niners hosting Atlanta. And how about the Falcons turning it on right now? They're doing everything right. They lead the league in rush yards per game. And if they just keep that smart and don't turn the ball over, they could be in every game. And with San Francisco, who's going to be healthy even that morning, let alone that night?
Yeah. So thoughts on Atlanta. I did kind of hint before the game that Bijan Robinson was going to have a kind of a breakout game. And he had more than a breakout game than I thought. Penix, as I've said, he's going to look good at times, and he's not going to look good at times. His mechanics are interesting. He throws a very hard line drive kind of throw. He can throw receivers open, but he also can put receivers in harm because he's throwing to their body a little too much, which puts them right in the line of fire and also puts him in danger of interceptions. Normally a good spot for Atlanta, but it's a rare Monday night win for them. It's a rare Monday night appearance for them. Yeah. And now they have the short week and they're traveling to San Francisco. San Francisco is still relatively, playoff worthy according to the odds, and their schedule tells you that they're still going to probably make the playoffs and win 10 games. But I can't emphasize enough what the loss of Fred Warner means to this team.
No doubt.
We don't know if George Kittle's coming back. McCaffrey, this is McCaffrey's breakout game on the ground. It's either now or not, or I don't know what. 3.2 yards per carry, and he goes against an Atlanta team allowing about 4.8 yards per carry. You get well right now, and you shorten the game, and you make Atlanta fatigued off Monday Night Football. I wish I could automatically go against San Francisco in this game, but Atlanta has some hills to climb off Monday Night Football. I think they might. I'm just devastated by the fact that another big injury to San Francisco. It's just too bad.
Yeah, when's the last time we saw Atlanta in 2 straight spotlight games too?
Yeah. Yeah, and they're in the race, and this is a tiebreaker situation when it comes down to it, Ted, at the end of the year when you're counting wins. If Tampa wins the division and the Rams or Seattle win that division, it may come down to who wins this game, Atlanta or San Francisco, for making the playoffs.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. The fact that the Niners have had 13 straight games without an interception, and now they don't have their best defensive player, that just does not bode well for the rest of the season.
No, one year they had 2 defensive interceptions and a -24 turnover ratio. And the very next year, they were extremely competitive. So you can take advantage of situations like that. But while it's going on, San Francisco has more questions than answers.
And go to the top of the hill, Ron, and scream it out. What was that big prop play last week on Bijan?
Well,
look at these numbers.
You know what his number was? 65.5.
Oh, you barely got there. You should have done what's that play that you do where you
laddering.
Yes.
Yeah, I chickened out. I did one ladder. I did a ladder where I did one ladder. I skipped some steps, and I did over 65.5 and over 110.5, which would paid some ridiculous price. I mean, more than it should have been. Yeah, but when somebody's lined at 65.5, of course there's going to be a huge price at 110. But the fact that he was lined at 65.5 when I had him at 90 something.
Wow.
So yeah, I can't tell you that I have any situations much tonight because I'm just worried about all the injury factor and who's playing and who's not.
Yeah. Exactly. We don't have any more time. Just any thoughts at all on the Monday night games?
games, Monday night games.
I'm getting tired of these double headers on Monday. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Again, Detroit and Tampa might be for slotting purposes, and Houston, they're not out of the playoff race just because they started 2-3. I mean, they win this game, they're back to 500. They have a lot of divisional games back, and you can't fault what Seattle's getting done right now and having the Monday night crowd. I think they're two really entertaining games. Personally, I probably think that Detroit is the right side against Tampa, and no opinion right now on Houston, Seattle.
Yeah, and Seattle is a better road team these days than their 12th man has produced in the last couple of seasons.
Interesting spot for Darnold going against a team that really plays press coverage, because Houston has last year under 60%, which is they were the only team under 60% last year, because we know how times have changed. There used to be 7, 8, 9 of them. Only one under 60% last year. There's 3 or 4 right now with a low sample size, and Houston again is one of them. Wow. So interesting challenge for Darnold, because he'll be throwing into tighter windows.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing Baker, what he does on the road at Detroit in the big Monday night game.
If he pulls another one off, hats off to him. Good situation for Detroit. You have to lay a bunch of points. Maybe you're paying a little bit of a premium. We talked about that every once in a while on various shows. Sometimes you have the right side, but everybody knows it, and you pay a little bit of premium. And at some point, the number matters, and you can't play it anymore. Detroit by power ratings is probably not where the number is going to end up, but by the eye test and by the metrics and by who's playing and who's not, they seem to be the right side.
That's it for the Inside Blitz, week number 7. We wish everybody good luck on Sunday. We can use it, and who knows, maybe even Chris might show up next week, Ron.
We'll see if we can get all 3 of us together for next week. Everybody enjoy the week. More shows. If you have questions, just send them to either one of us. We'll answer them.
You got it, man. Good luck, everybody. Have a good time, and see you at SoFi, Chargers, and the Colts on Sunday. Later.